That was a beautiful choice of music, Connie. Thanks for sharing that. That was Wild Child by Enya, for anybody who's taking notes. I want to roll the windows up in my car and just go for it with that one. That was a really good song. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Well, welcome to everybody. I'm so happy to see everyone here. Welcome to the Home Center, our friends online. We're grateful that you're here with us as well. I see new faces and old faces. Not that you're old, not that you're old. Long known faces, good friends, and new people. Everybody, welcome. We're glad that you're here. If you'll join me in our opening prayer. Spirit, in this moment, we breathe deeply together, forgetting yesterday's shortcomings. And as we breathe again, we release our worries about tomorrow and align ourselves in this moment, presently, with the infinite mind. We recognize movement, change, and growth every day happening within us and around us. And this morning, we remain open always to the wisdom of Spirit's song. We ask blessings for this service and the message brought forth today, and we open ourselves to a shift in perception. We surrender our old ways of thinking to make room for a higher awareness. And in gratitude, we release this prayer into universal law, knowing it is already done. And so it is. Reverend Connie, will you please take the pulpit?
I titled my talk this morning, The Blue Jewel. That's where we live, people. We live on the blue jewel. So let us begin by asking ourselves these questions. How are we creating a new earth? How are we creating heaven on earth that Christ Jesus spoke of? And are we ready to help bring planet Earth through her transformation along with our cooperation and help? This can be done quite simply because humanity was given free will. And our free will choices determine our experiences here in the forming of matter. Next, contemplate on this question. What is it that you want to experience more of? What do you want more of in your life? Is it peace, freedom, joy? Or is it struggle, limitation, and effort? I see people shaking their heads on that last one. Yeah. Okay, well then remember, you are the creator within your creation. You get to choose what you create. The thoughts we think, the words we speak, have a creative power. The energy of God moves in, through, and as us into expression. I once read this idea that humans fail to dream big enough. We don't plan on something wonderful and glorious and grand. Remember our song about the wild child? Let's all be a little wild child. Let's create something grand and beautiful here. Mike Dooley, in speaking with a spiritual council of masters and ascended beings, said, "Have I heard you say that we humans haven't even scratched the surface of how good things will get? See how things will get?" Then he asked, "Might you give us a sneak preview of how life can be once we move into heaven on earth, the new earth that we seem to be on the cusp of presently?" That's where we're standing, people. We're just about there. We just need to help give that little shove. They answered, in essence, that they had spoken to many people through private sessions with the channeler Sarah Landon that Mike Dooley worked with. They put forth a couple of very interesting books that I've talked about before. And they said that people consistently would say, I would wake up each morning energized, feeling excited about life. Then I would focus on what joyful things I would like to do that day. Because I could choose to do anything I want to do and create wonderful, uplifting experiences for myself. Whether it would be time alone, maybe you'd like to go out into the woods or sit by a river on a rock, or with others. Maybe you'd rather go rafting down that river or have a picnic in the woods. Or it could be in being of service to others. Maybe you go visit a friend who's in the hospital. Or you give a smile to the person at the grocery store. There are many ways that we can be of service to others and to our world. It would be a delightful experience, it goes on to say, and I would feel wonderful and fulfilled. And I would watch the sun go down at the end of the day and the stars come out for the night before I slumbered. I often begin my morning by saying, good morning, spirit team. Kind of like, good morning, angels. Remember that show? What is our assignment for today? Meaning, what has the higher self got on the agenda? Because I need to get my little ego self out of the way if I can. Being a half-breed, half human, half spirit, I don't always remember and just go out and start doing things like feeding my cats, thinking, what are we going to have for breakfast? But my husband and I do take time in the morning to connect, and I usually read something spiritual for a while. We light a candle and we say a prayer for the world. That's how we begin our day. Again, remember, we are the creators within our creation. However, by inviting our spiritual counsel in to guide us, we have a better chance if we choose to listen or intuit their advice. Because a lot of times it's just a little nudge or a little whisper. But if you're paying attention to what's going on up here, upstairs, they try to slip things in amongst our monkey mind thoughts. They truly do. We can have that wonderful, fulfilling day. It is all dependent upon our attitude and our response to the choices we make every single day. Again, remember, we are the creators within our creation. Also, what we choose helps or hinders the creation of the new earth, the heaven on earth, or as some are calling it, the golden age. It's waiting right there in the wings for us to bring in. Everything that we desire is in that warehouse of field that surrounds us, that surrounds our earth. And we'll get to talking about that a little more. That's how I've always kind of seen it. It's like a warehouse, and you send the message up, I want this. And then the angels and helpers go together and they create the blueprint of it and send it down. We have to fill it in. That's our job. Appearing in this month's Sedona Emergence magazine, in the article, You Are a Star Child, Mother Mary gave this message in brief through channel Theresa Drower. I have come forth to present us with the vision of the grid, meaning that energy field I was speaking of, that intentionally surrounds our planet Gaia Earth. so it was intentionally put in place. The grid is built and created with the God power of our love and our light that emanates from each individual living on earth. Now, see, Brother Mary is talking as if she's still part of us. And truly, are we not all one? And then Teresa says the vision she received as she was getting this message of Mother Mary was of Mother Mary holding the earth like a beautiful blue ball. And it was surrounded by an illuminated grid of light. And as she was holding it, she could see points of light become illuminated on the grid as they are activated. They glow, they brighten, and Earth grid sparkles with light. Yeah, each one of us has a place on that grid. Plus, we have a grid around us as well. Reading this article brought back a memory. When I was living in Kansas in the 1980s, I was inspired to draw a vision I had of Earth. And what I saw was like the outline of a human body. And within it, where the heart would be, was planet Earth. And surrounding in the inside of this body were little bodies all over. And it was emanating a golden sort of light. So when I drew it, I used yellow because I didn't have gold. And so it's got yellow. The people are yellow, the earth is yellow, and it's emanating a light. And I found it interesting that that memory was brought back to me. In another image I received while in contemplation at that time, I saw the earth as if I was looking at her from space. As I looked at her, lights began to blossom all over her surface, the lights of humanity. Blink, 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 on all over her. It was from this view of being suspended in space, I saw this beautiful Mother, our Earth, as a radiant blue jewel, sparkling with light. I remember reading this concept that those beings that are not present on a planet, they can view our Earth and they see it as a blue jewel of this universe. In the article I spoke of a few minutes ago, Mother Mary goes on to say, in part, the grid is strengthened by the choices and the intentions that us humans make each day. You are inextricably, a little trouble with that word because I'm not real familiar with it, but I know it means everything, that we are part of everything, connected to each other as you float in space, residing on your beautiful blue ball. The universe is watching as you transform. As we transform ourselves, we are helping our planet transform, and she is helping us transform. And going back to Mother Mary's message, she says, I exhort each of you to continue to offer your light to this transforming that is underway. Yes, it's underway. That's what we're feeling. Yeah, we feel the chaos of it, but yes. She tells us to do this by giving prayers, love, joy, and the energy of the earth grid. Give that to the earth grid. Give it energy. Send your prayers to it. Do so joyfully. Because all we share with earth, other humans, animals, plants, rivers, And hidden folks, I thought that was interesting how she put that. Hidden folks. What are the hidden folks? Well, the elves, the fairies, the gnomes, and they go by many different names in many different countries. What we call the elemental kingdom. They're the invisible kingdom that helps support us here on earth. Because all kingdoms and the elements of earth are a complete system. That's what's being known as the Gaia system. And I spoke about that a while back, and even how it got its name through, I think he was kind of a scientist person that came up with the name Gaia. One of the figures that came out a few years ago, oftentimes it was, made out of clay, was of Mother Earth. It was to represent Mother Earth. Back in ancient times, archaeologists have found these little, oftentimes, sometimes big, squat figures of a woman, a feminine woman figure that's rather rotund and pregnant. And that pregnant belly is the earth. They worshipped the mother. I know River Madge has such a little figure because I've seen it. And this part is, like the earth with its blues and its greens. And she has like green hair. Well, I have a small one that I found one day, I think at Journeys. And mine is just gray clay. And on the bottom where she's seated, it has like a little vine around the bottom. Vines have always been an important thing in my life. When I was in school, I used to like to draw vines. It was just what I doodled. In my backyard, we have vines that cover all across our back fence, and they have really gone wild because we haven't been able to tend them quite so much. And they're deciding to go over to the neighbors. Well, he's complained to me, and he says, well, I can take care of them. I'll take them down. Well, they're still going. It might be like some fairy tale here before long where all the things grew up around it. I think Sleeping Beauty or something. Yeah. That's kind of how our yard is getting. Okay, so going back to where I was here, let's see. Well, that little figure that I was talking about, she sits on my altar, and she helps me to remember and remind me that I'm a beneficial presence in this world if I choose to be. Let us remember each day we are at choice as to how we, or us, express our consciousness, because we have free will. We can either go down the rabbit hole of believing in all outer world discord and imbalances if we want to view things that way. Yeah, we've been warned about not being too swayed by what we're hearing out there, what we're seeing out there in that chaotic world that's out there. Remember, we've got the new paradigm clashing up against the old paradigm. How does nature work? We have to break down the old to give the soil nourishment for the new to come up. So that's what's going on in our world. But we don't want to add to it with our thoughts, our emotions, and our attitudes. Or as I said, we have a choice. We can make the choice to be a part of the magic of Earth and our transformation, because we are transforming. We are becoming more, which was a favorite thing that Reverend Jay used to tell us. You can be more. You can be more. Yes, we can be more. How can we be that? By creating ourselves as part of the blue jewel, by shining our light upon her with love, compassion, and joy. We need to reconnect to our mother. Very much so. We've really gotten very far away from that connection that our ancestors had. Now I will leave you with this medicine song that Mother Mary presented through Therese Strower, who was her channel. This statement came before the song. Remember to hold strong and let your light shine. Very, very important. Remember, too, that you are connected and blessed. You are a blessed being. You are honored for what you're doing here. Keep reading that. We are very much loved. We are surrounded with beings that are cheering us. Come on, come on, you can do it. You can change this planet. You can change yourselves. You can grow. You can be more. You can have a Disneyland here on Earth. Reverend Jay used to tell us, this is a Disneyland, he would say. It's not a penal colony. We don't want it to be that. We don't want to be prisoners here on Earth. We want to be more. We want to be grand and glorious beings. Because in truth, what are we housing inside of ourselves? This wondrous light being. How many of you remember the movie Cocoon? Not too many. Well, Cocoon was an interesting movie. And it was about these aliens that had to leave some of their people here. And they were at the bottom of the ocean in these rocks, in these big rocks. But they needed to be released or they were going to die. And so they come back to help. And in part of the story, one of the beings who has taken on a suit of flesh, you might say, to appear as if she can integrate with the people here on Earth. A young man becomes kind of infatuated with her. And she tells him, let me show you how we show love. And she unzips the suit and takes and hangs it up. And she says, light beam. And she just dashes all over the inside of this, where there's a swimming pool. Just all over. That's what we are. I felt when I saw that movie. That's what we are. We are these wondrous light beings. And now I've come to understand, in truth, that's true. I didn't know it back then. So let's go back to Reverend Mary's message. She goes on to say, this statement came before the song. Remember to hold strong and let your light shine. Remember too that you are connected and blessed. I leave you with this song to remind you of your connection to the elements, earth, and she uses the word wind. Sometimes we refer to it as air, water, and fire. Okay, I've chosen this morning to use her song as meditative contemplation. So if you will take a moment and become comfortable in your seat, and if you wish to close your eyes or lower your gaze, and we will have our contemplative meditation. We're going to begin this, once you're comfortable, by following a little exercise that's going to connect our brain and our heart in coherence. Because that'll make us more receptive to be able to visualize and understand this song. And the way it's done is you breathe into a count of 4, you hold for a count of 4, and then you release to a count of 6. So let's begin. Breathing in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold. 1, 2, 3, 4. Release. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. One more time. Breathing in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold. 1, 2, 3, 4. Release. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Put your hand over your heart for a moment. Can you feel warmth? Can you feel the warmth within? This is our connection that we make. We do connect through our heart and through this coherence to one another, to our world. And now let's contemplate the words of Mary's song, which is titled, You Are a Star Child. You are a star child. Flow with the water. Bend with the wind. Stand on your mother and feel the warmth of the sun. You are the earth child, born of flesh and bone. You are a star child. From the stars you came. Take that in for a moment. What are stars made of? Are they not light? Let us remember who we truly are as we live on this beautiful blue jewel, Gaia, Earth. And so be it. You take your time to come back, wiggle your toes and the fingers. Take a breath in and open your eyes. Okay. It's now time for our offering. So if you want to take whatever you'd like to give out. And you can hold it in your hands. If you wish to give, we also have a little PayPal thing on the outside of the basket as it goes around. So my friend Jennifer is going to pass the basket for us this morning. So let's bless. Let's take a moment of blessing. As we prepare our offering to the home center, let's hold it in our hands and charge it. Let's charge it with the energy of alignment, generosity, and sacred intention. We know that we are part of the greater circulation of good and that our gifts will multiply for the highest healing, growth, and service to us and our community. As the basket is coming around, please fill it with your blessings. And we thank you for your generosity and for continuing to support our good works. And so it is. I might just mention that it's always good to volunteer too. We always need help around here. Oh, yeah. This is a very big place, and we want to take good care of our spiritual home. I think we have a gardening sort of committee that's going to be meeting. Jane, you want to talk about that for a moment?
We'll do announcements after.
Oh, okay. Sorry. We're going to cover that a little bit later. So now I'm going to invite Reverend Jerry to come up. He's going to give us a little story and a closing prayer.
Thank you, Reverend Connie. Wow. Rock on, Star Children. Right. Let's blast off. Children of Light, man. That was great. Thank you for sharing that. All right. So I got a little story about a young seeker who climbed a mountain to ask this blue jewel, the Earth, a question. And he had heard that the planet was becoming more conscious, that humanity was rising, and that a new way of being was being born. But everywhere he looked, people still argued, people still rushed and worried and forgot who they were. So he climbed the highest spot of the mountain that he could find, and he stood on the bridge between the heavens and the earth, and he spoke to her, and he said, Mother Earth, are we really awakening? And he waited. The wind moved through the trees, and a hawk circled overhead. A stream continued its long silver path through the stones, but the seeker heard nothing, so he called again, louder this time, Mother Earth, are we rising or not? And still the mountain said nothing. Frustrated, he sat down. And he watched a pine tree bend in the wind without breaking, and he watched ants work together without needing applause. He watched the stream find its way around every stone without complaint. And he watched the sun give light to everything without asking who deserved it. After a while, he became very still. And in that stillness, he finally heard the mountain speak, and not in words, but in wisdom. And the mountain said, I've been answering you all day. The seeker looked around and understood. The earth was not silent. He had simply been listening for a voice instead of a feeling. The pine was teaching flexibility, and the ants were teaching cooperation. The stream was teaching trust, and the sun was teaching generosity. The mountain was teaching presence. And the seeker realized that Mother Earth was not waiting for humanity to escape this world into a higher consciousness. She was inviting us to become conscious enough to finally learn from the world we already stand in. In our closing prayer together, if you'll feel comfortable and join me in closing your eyes. Infinite Spirit, we give thanks for the message shared today, for the hearts gathered here, and for the consciousness rising within us and around us. Help us leave this place with softer judgment in our hearts, clearer vision, and a greater willingness to trust the unfolding of life. May we become steady vessels of peace, compassion, courage, and higher awareness. May our thoughts rise. May our words bless. May our actions serve. May our presence help lift the vibration of this world. We release this prayer into the universe knowing it is already fulfilled, and so it is. Thank you, everybody. And to those of you joining us online, thank you so much for being here. Come see us sometime soon. From our hearts to yours. Wait, hurts works too. From our hurts, our frequency, our vibrations of love. Everybody, thanks for being here. Bye-bye.